First Chronicles chapter 25, verse 1. David and the army commanders then appointed men from the families of Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun to proclaim God's messages to the accompaniment of lyres, harps, and cymbals. Here is a list of their names and their work. Verse 2. From the sons of Asaph, there were Zachor, Joseph, Nathaniel, Asarela. They worked under the direction of their father Asaph, who proclaimed God's messages by the king's orders. Verse 3. From the sons of Jeduthun, there were Gedaliah, Zeri, Jeshahiah, Shimei, Hashabiah, and Mattithiah, 6 in all. They worked under the direction of their father Jeduthun, who proclaimed God's messages to the accompaniment of the lyre, offering thanks and praise to the Lord. Verse 4. From the sons of Heman, there were Bukiah, Mathaniah, Uzziel, Shobal, Jerimoth, Hananiah, Hanani, Eliathah, Gilgalti, Ramothi Izar, Jashobi Kashiha, Malti, Hothiah, and Mahazioth. Verse 5. All these were the sons of Heman, the king's seer, for God had honored him with 14 sons and 3 daughters. Verse 6. All these men were under the direction of their fathers as they made music at the house of the Lord. Their responsibilities included playing of cymbals, harps, and lyres at the house of God. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman reported directly to the king. Verse 7. They and their families were all trained in making music before the Lord. Each of them, 288 in all, was an accomplished musician. Verse 8. The musicians were appointed to their themes of service by means of sacred lot, without regard to whether they were young or old, teacher or student. Verse 9. The first lot fell to Joseph of the Asaph clan, and 12 of his sons and relatives. The second lot fell to Gedaliah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 10. The third lot fell to Zachor and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 11. The fourth lot fell to Zeri and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 12. The fifth lot fell to Nathaniel and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 13. The sixth lot fell to Bukiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 14. The seventh lot fell to Asarela and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 15. The eighth lot fell to Jeshahiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 16. The ninth lot fell to Mathaniah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 17. The tenth lot fell to Shemaiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 18. The 11th lot fell to Uzziel and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 19. The 12th lot fell to Hashabiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 20. The 13th lot fell to Shubal and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 21. The 14th lot fell to Mattithiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 22. The 15th lot fell to Jerimoth and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 23. The 16th lot fell to Hananiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 24. The 17th lot fell to Joshua B. Kashaha and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 25. The 18th lot fell to Hanani and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 26. The 19th lot fell to Molothi and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 27. The 20th lot fell to Eliathah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 28. The 21st lot fell to Hothiah and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 29. The 22nd lot fell to Gedalti and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 30. The 23rd lot fell to Mahaziot and 12 of his sons and relatives. Verse 31. The 24th lot fell to Ramathi Israel and 12 of his sons and relatives. Amen.